Our proposal is predicated on the idea that the Three-Fifths Compromise is a bad compromise. It presents moral difficulties, grants Southern slave states inordinate power in the federal government, and kicks the can down the road on the all-important question of slavery. We think that the best time to confront how the United States will bring about the end of slavery is now, before the practice becomes even more deeply entrenched in the Union, and thereby even harder to eliminate through peaceful means. Our proposal does exactly this, placing our fledgling nation on the right side of history and eliminating the horrific possibility that we will ever have to fight a war amongst ourselves to answer the question of slavery. First, we propose to get rid of the Three-Fifths Clause and count slaves for neither purposes of representation nor taxation. Why? Well, as Mr. Smith in New York says, the Three-Fifths Clause gives disproportionate representation to those who hold slaves. Here, we think it is worth noting that many of the other proposals, except ours, count slaves for purposes of representation. Not only will these proposals give Southern interests too much power in the federal government from the start, but they will incentivize the augmentation of slaves. The more slaves a state has, the more representation it gets. Take, for example, one of the other proposals you'll hear tonight, which will suggest the compounding tax upon slaveholders for the employment of unpaid labor. While the goal of this proposal is commendable, we fear that it will prove wholly unworkable precisely because it counts slaves for purposes of representation as one whole person. This representation scheme will result in a federal government deeply divided between anti-slavery and pro-slavery forces, making effective enforcement of the compounding tax an unlikely prospect. Even if the federal government was deeply committed to enforcing the compounding tax, Delegate Morris of Pennsylvania rightly notes that it is idle to suppose that the general government can stretch its hands directly into the pockets of the people scattered over so vast a country. The necessary infrastructure simply does not exist, and because this group's representation scheme creates a federal government that will hardly look negatively upon slavery, it is beyond idle to suppose the compounding tax would ever actually be levied or collected. Pure and simple, it is impossible. You'll hear another proposal tonight that mandates federal emancipation of all slaves after 10 years. Once more, this is a commendable proposal, but it too finds glaring weakness in the fact that it counts slaves as whole persons for purposes of representation. This means that 10 years from now, the supposed date for emancipation, you will not encounter a federal government working hard to create a sensible plan for emancipation, but rather a federal government that cannot make up its mind about whether slavery should be abolished or enshrined. This makes it all too likely that emancipation will not be accomplished at all, thereby making mockery of the Constitution, rendering it no more than a few grand words on a piece of paper. Our proposal, on the other hand, does not count slaves for purposes of representation. Thus, the federal government that our proposal creates would find relative consensus on the necessity of abolishing slavery, ready and willing to create a plan for emancipation in case the states fail to create their own. We imagine that critics of our proposal will cry that under our scheme, Southern interests will perpetually lie prostrate at the feet of Northern interests in the federal government. This, however, is not the case. But true, slaves are not counted for purposes of representation under our proposal, but free blacks are. Thus, our proposal creates strong incentive to emancipate slaves swiftly. Moreover, a close look at the census data shows roughly equal populations in the North and South when both non-slaves and slaves are counted. Thus, upon achieving emancipation, our proposal will result in a roughly equal balance of Northern and Southern interests in the federal government.